Well, welcome everybody to Forever Bristol City podcast. We are in joyous mood because the final score at Ashton Gate, it finished City 2, Stoke City 0. That playoff flame flickers to life once again as we sit this morning in, seventh place, something like that. Yeah, is that right, chaps? Yeah. And, everything to play for in the seven-side derby at the weekend. I'm delighted to be joined by the Tubbies, Dave and Mark, as I always say, no relation, and Tom Hicks making a welcome return to the podcast as well. Chaps, as we normally do, Tom, you first, your thoughts as you traipsed out of Ashton Gate about 9:30. So quiet. I walked out just before the end, and didn't even know there was a match going on. It was really quiet. But what were your thoughts on the game?
I was quite happy, to be fair. I mean, I thought Stoke were an extremely poor side, but to put them to bed, really, it could have been probably more than two, in all honesty. But Mehmeti did well. A lot of our players also did well. I thought Roberts left centre, sort of when we went back to a back four as well, not playing on at wing back, was a lot better. Armstrong, I thought, had a good hour as well for him, and obviously Mehmeti as well, getting his 10th and 11th goal. It is quite impressive. So overall, very happy. And obviously, we're 7th in the league. So what's there to complain about, really?
This is true. What's there to complain about? Dave, you were watching from afar. You couldn't feel the atmosphere by being there. But, what were your thoughts on the game? It seemed a bit flat to me. I don't know if that came across from afar.
At the beginning, you could see like the soul had been sucked out of people at the beginning of the game from the weekend. But for the game itself, I thought it was a solid win without being spectacular. There were two wonderful goals, McCrory being my man of the match because he gave the team a much needed lift of energy after the weekend. And it was one of those games that we essentially had to win. And actually, it was nice to watch the City game without too much drama at the end and just see it through calmly, So I felt very at peace at the end.
Yeah. Mark, what were your thoughts?
I thought this result we should have got against Swansea, but it actually City started the game with a lot of confidence, a little bit slowly, but from the 5th minute onwards, we were passing and moving the ball at will, side to side. It was excellent, and we should have scored more than the excellent one goal we got from Anis Mehmeti. Went a bit flat after that. I thought that Max Bird and Jason Knight struggled in midfield to contain Stoke, but Stoke were really punchless aside from that cross that just touched the bar.
Yeah.
And then we won the game at the end. The subs were really good because the change to a 4 made us more compact, and it also gave us a lot more space behind. With you Hirakawa, starring, and we really should have put the game to bed even after Mehmeti scored a second. Yeah. We had several chances, and that's the problem with City. We don't kill teams off. There's always that worry. And I think it's still a little bit flat, although it's like, land ahoy, there's the playoffs through the telescope. We don't really believe that we're going to get there. I don't think. There's not the
do you know what, Mark? I totally agree with that. I mean, I think the flatness was also generated by the announcement that McNally is out for, the rest of the season, could be up to a year, or if it's as bad as Rob Atkinson, we might not see him until 2027. Yeah. But it was a flat atmosphere. When I walked into the ground at 7:30, and you could actually hear the players shouting to one another at stages during the game. The Stoke fans were muted as well, I thought. I think they did their signature tune, Delilah, about once. And you said a moment ago, Mark, that it went a bit flat after we went 2-0 up. I was really disappointed with Stoke that they were knocking the ball like we do at our frustrating worst, knocking the ball around at the back at 2-0 down. And bearing in mind they're managed by a manager, Mark Robbins, who we know Steve Lansdowne has coveted on and off over the years. He's got a lot of work to do there. And if they're not careful, particularly with Plymouth picking up points the way they are, Stoke could get well and truly sucked into the relegation dogfight, because it's looking a bit closer at the bottom than it did maybe a month ago because of resurgent Plymouth. Tom, the lineup, it sort of picks itself, really, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, I was rather unfair describing it as a bit unimaginative and predictable, but what did you think when you saw that 11 that he named?
Yeah, I mean, I was happy that McCrory came in because I think he just adds that bit of bit of fight on, and especially I know he ain't a left wing back, but I thought he did very well at left wing back when he was playing there first half. And then Armstrong, after his cameo against Swansea, I thought he was bound to start, and he did. I thought he did actually very well. And you know, I think Twine again wasn't really doing much. I know his set pieces are good, but I didn't see much of him during the game. And I thought Roberts improved a lot from his Swansea performance. So overall, pretty, as you said, the lineup picks itself, but I probably wouldn't go too unchanged for Cardiff. I don't know what he'll do there.
Dave, Liam was bemoaning the fact that it's sort of 3 games in 6 days, which is, well, 3 and 7 almost, really, because, you know, Sunday to Saturday is 7 days in my book. Are you surprised that somebody like Knight stayed on for the whole 90? I mean, was there any temptation to maybe switch things up a bit, or was it really he had to go for broke last night and play the best 11? And what is the best 11? I guess based on fit players, it's what started last night.
I mean, first of all, the lineup, you know, it's in must-win mode. I mean, what else are you gonna do? I mean, I think Armstrong deserves to start yesterday. You could argue maybe Morrison on the left, but it's not the moment because he hasn't had enough minutes till now. And to be honest, as Tom said, McCory was excellent on the left yesterday. He played very well. He really did bring a certain energy to it. In terms of bringing people off, yeah, sure. At the end of the game, you can argue that point. But in terms of 3 games in 7 days, that's football. You know what you get in the Championship, and you won't get many sympathy from people that, you know, you have to play 3 games in 7 days. It's like, it's what you got to do. That's it.
Mark, do you think? I'll come to you on the away side, as I tend to bow to your greater knowledge of some of the opposition. Only one that we're going to talk about, but you know, the fact that Cardiff played the night before, do you think that weighs heavily in their advantage? I mean, they got beat last night, didn't they? I think, or no, the night before. Sorry, what am I talking about? They got beat at Portsmouth, so they got an extra day's recovery. It's not like we've got a long journey to travel over.
Yeah, I don't think it makes a lot of difference. I mean, if anything, we know we should be in confident mood because we played some good football. I think there's always the concern that when you're playing against a more physical team, like City, just knock us out of our stride, slow the game down, go for the try and just be more direct and win free kicks, and especially corners. Like with Perry NG, I think it was almost waiting for a goal to be scored. I think last season when he scored. And this season, when we played, I think we played on a Sunday, didn't we, in the pouring rain in October. And when Ollie Tanner scored for them, I didn't think there was any way back. The game seemed to be drifting away. Yeah. So it's almost like they get into our minds. But we haven't got a bad, history there. So yeah, I think we should go there.
All right, we look forward to that in a bit more detail.
We need to score a first goal, and we need to set our stall out.
Yeah. Well, an away win's much overdue. Just sticking on the lineups, their lineup, Mark, that is Stoke. They had a player that, I mean, none of their names stood out in the starting 11 to me, but there was one that, again, we've sort of been linked with more than once. It's a striker, Al Amadi, who was at Wimbledon. I think we were linked strongly with him the summer before last. He ended up going to Ipswich. Not really made it there, maybe featured towards the end of last season. I think was he a window signing for them in January last year?
Yeah, he was. I think they bought him for $1.5 million.
It's $1.5 million. I mean, you look at somebody like Al Mahdi, who's in our budget, and you'd think, rather say keep the $1.5 million in my pocket. He did well. He got taken off in the end, didn't he? He was very ineffective.
Yeah, and also Nathan Lowe was quite ineffective, who they loaned out to Walsall, and he was scoring a lot of goals up there. And then he brought him back in January because they lost Tom Cannon. Tom Cannon was recalled by Leicester, then sold to Sheffield United. So, but they got in some good positions. They looked quite strong in midfield in the opening, but they really just it was like a balloon going down. It just their play just gradually deflated. Yeah, and they just didn't do anything. There was no purpose to their playing out from the back, going through midfield. They got in some decent positions. I thought that Seco looked dangerous early on, although he faded completely out, taken off. And yeah, there was nothing to Stoke. I mean, they were one of our bogey sides. I think we've only won one of the last 5 games against them at Ashton Gate.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot more. Very surprised.
I think it's important to acknowledge, though, like in the beginning of the game, especially, they're trying to play out from the back. But with our press and the way that we're stealing the ball, you've got to have the right level of intensity and mindset to take advantage when the team is that poor. And so many times we were nicking it and we were keeping the ball in their half and we were looking to keep that pressure on the whole time. And that's why the first goal comes, because we started well and they haven't necessarily, and we've put ourselves in a position to take advantage of it.
Yeah, well, let's start with you on that first goal. I mean, there might have been a couple of incidents before that, but we were certainly in the ascendancy, very much like the game against Swansea the weekend. But Dave, take us through the goal, and I'll come to each of you with your views on it. But you first, Dave, the goal.
For me, it's a good example of what I talk about with Twine and needing the right players around him, because it starts with a throw on the left, and Twine's waiting for it in the middle, and as soon as he picks it up, basically you've got Sykes that he knows where he wants to go, and he's kind of waiting, and he gives a little signal with his hand of go, and then he's gone, and Twine has picked that pass, and it's an exquisite pass, but you can only do that if Sykes makes the right run. From Mehmeti's side, he makes a run behind the back line that in previous versions of football rules would have been offside, but he keeps himself perfectly in line with Sykes, ball comes across, he's in, and it's a goal. It's a really good goal. The ball from, like I said, the ball from Twine is fantastic, but it's made by Sykes and his forward-thinking play, and that's what Twine needs around him.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, Tom, the goal, Sinks was involved in that, and I mean, his control lets him down sometimes, right? But he does get us up the pitch. And Gary Howe said, you got to be looking after the game. He said, you got to be looking for a bit more than getting us up the pitch if he's your recognised striker in a 1. But he set that move on its way. And I guess it's a good thing, Tom, that Sykes has, well, we've taken up our year option on his contract, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it was Roberts on the throw and he plays it to Armstrong. And he thought, well, he could control it anyway. But he actually does play a decent pass. And then Twine obviously clocks a pass and plays it. And Mehmeti couldn't have missed from Sykes' ball. But it just shows how easy it can be done when we play the forward passes. Because sometimes just feels like we're so sideways and backwards, but there we were actually playing quite progressive football, which and throughout the first half as well. I think they sussed out Stoke were pretty poor, and there was times to nick it, and they did that. And yeah, it's a good first goal, but I thought we should have beat them more than 2. Really, it should have been 3 or 4. I know it doesn't matter; win's a win, but you would have liked to have seen a few more goals there because Stoke. I got to be fair; I think they're relegation fodder, if anything.
They're on 32. They're on 32 points at the moment.
They're close.
Yeah. Mark, we've been lacking goals in open play of late. A few Twine free kicks and then the well-worked free kick routine up at Oxford. That was top draw finish, wasn't it? But the build-up was slick. I mean, if we were playing like that, if we were doing moves like that, took half a dozen times in a game, not always scoring, but that style of football, that was fast, front foot flowing football, he said.
Well, exactly. I mean, you go back to the Preston game and the goal by Max Bird, simply playing wall passes between about 5 players, pass and move. And it's so simple. It's the movement that's the problem. The players seem to stop a lot of the time and wonder where the next ball's going. What should be happening, they should be passing it in an ideal world, they should be passing it into space, and then the next player should be moving for the next pass into space and then the next move. That's what they did last night. We just don't see enough of it. There seems to be some mental block where the movement just doesn't happen. Whether it's the opposition players getting into their minds. I mean, we're pressing. There's not as much space now. Defences generally throughout the Football League are much better drilled. You look at them in lines. They play in lines, don't they? Lines of 2. Midfield and even forwards press and compress the space. So it's just mentally, for some reason, and what I was so pleased about is after Sunday's disappointment, City didn't let it cow them at all. They just got on and lifted themselves. But what the problem is, they've got to score when they get those opportunities. And I think the problem is with Armstrong's a good outlet but he's not a finisher. So why not play him behind a striker?
Yeah, but then
is there the worry? Is he going to do any worse at pressing than Scott Twine? You know, in terms of his defensive capabilities when we're out of possession, or I mean, we want Anis Mehmeti because obviously he's a top scorer, but you could play him in a free and have a forward who can finish, because at the moment we haven't got that. That's the problem. You've got somebody who can break the lines, but you haven't got a finisher. So you're relying on your midfielders or your number 10 to score.
Yeah.
This is
Coming
a problem.
to you next,
and
Dave.
we're going to go
I
for
just
that.
want to make one point that Tomo's made on here, and we maybe talk about that as well. He said it's mad that we only have one more point than this time last season, yet we're only 2 points off the playoff. It's a weaker but more competitive league this season. I think somebody did a table that was on X and I think posted on the forum that just showed, you know, the fluctuations, that this is quite a one-off, unique season. Dave, what do you think of the referee yesterday? I say that because on 24 minutes, I mean, Sinks was brought to the ground with a tackle and an intent, a bit like Joe Williams did up at Oxford. And,
Can I answer a little thing on the goal, first of all, what Mark said, because he made the point about players and the movement. I think it's important to recognise Twine got the ball facing the goal in a number 10 role, exactly where you want him to be. In that moment, Sykes isn't thinking about the wing back role. He's in a forward role in his natural position. And if you get the chance, look at the hand movement from Sykes. He signals it before he even goes. They both know what they're doing. And it's what happens when you've got players in a natural role where they don't have to think and it's instinctive. In terms of the tackle, in my opinion, it's somewhere between a yellow and a red, probably closer to a yellow. But I wanted to ask you a question.
An orange.
Yeah, exactly. During that moment, we've seen it from opposition teams where any kind of tackle like that, and the fans are on the referee, the players are on the referee. Do you think the team did well in that moment yesterday? And do you want to see our players being more aggressive in those situations?
Yeah, I know what you mean by that. I mean, you watch games on TV as well, and as a bad tackle comes in, they're straight around the referee, like more or less crying. I mean, Twine is normally the one to be crying, but you want to see our players and even the fans a little bit, like we didn't really appeal for it as much as we sometimes do. I suppose I'm sat in the Dolman and I couldn't really see it too well, to be honest, but it's a bad tackle, but Sinclair's actually not going anywhere with the ball, so there was no need for the tackle. I don't think it might have been a red, I don't know, but yeah, you'd like the players to be a bit more up for it and in the ref's face when tackles like that go in, which is something we don't seem to do too often, really. It seems like the other teams always get bookings, get us booked, but it's never the other way round, which, yeah.
Yeah, getting back to that about the crowd going, because that incident was literally, I'm row 18 in Lower Lansdowne, so pretty close to me. I didn't make a big song and dance about it, but those further down would have done. But there was an incident later on in the game in front of section 82 where the crowd was screaming. It wasn't because the corner, when they were attacking, the ball wasn't in the corner. It was late on in the game. And I said to a person I was with at a game last night, Tom, I said, the crowd got us that decision. I think it was a corner or something, but, the crowd were up at them. And if you think about it, some of the grounds, the fans are closer to the pitch, and it does make a difference. And I think referees, they do buckle. I think they're only human, and I think they go with a vibe. What did you think of the referee last night, Mark? Overall, I thought he let a lot go. The linesmen were, these linesmen, they're the sort of people that wouldn't park on a single yellow line. It seems, they're looking to the referee for what's he going to give for a throw in when it's like about 10 yards away from them. There was a few late decisions, questionable decisions with the flagging. What did you think?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the flagging is getting to be a pain in the ass, because they'll let a move go and they'll flag almost like it's 5 minutes after it's ended, because that's what they've been instructed to do. I've heard that some assistants have been instructed by the referees, even with throw-ins, just to, let them acknowledge it, which is completely crazy. Yeah, but I think we did let a lot go. I mean, don't seem to do that. They do that more in the Championship than they do in the Premier League, of course, where they've got VAR, and perhaps there is more pressure. They're under a lot more pressure to be accountable in the Premier League, and you know the vitriol they get on social media as well is absolutely horrible. If they get decisions wrong and VAR, they're really badly punished. So yeah, we get a lot of poor referees in the Championship. You know, people you wouldn't see in the Premier League. But I think it wasn't one-sided like it was at places like Oxford, where you know where Will Volks put his foot up in one of our players, and he was yellowed. So yeah, I think it was fairly even. But generally, the referees aren't bad. It's just that we remember the bad ones when the decisions go against you. And that thing with, I don't like some sort of vigilante squad going around the referee. I mean, there's zero tolerance now. Players shouldn't argue. The referee's there to referee the game. Let him get on with it.
Fair enough.
That's it.
Good point, Mark. You make that, so it counters what Dave was saying. We need you got. It's all about getting the balance right. Dave, you said before we started recording that a bit like Swansea, between the goal by Twine and then into the second half, the second goal, but we had no additional shots in that period, which is a good hour almost, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's like a theme of the last few games. We come out on like really hit our straps. We're on the game, and then at some point we need to sit back, and whether that's by design, I'm not sure. But when people talk about like the being bored and not being entertained, you kind of have the two extremes. Like in one part of it, you're like, this is good, I'm enjoying today, and then all of a sudden you go through this long phase of nothing. And nothing happens, and you're kind of staring at a screen, and just, or in your case in the stadium, and you're waiting for the next big moment, and it will come from a set piece or it will come from a run. But I wouldn't necessarily say yesterday between 30 and 60 it was at the highest quality game yesterday, and that's the frustration of watching City, is that the spectrum seems to be too big. It's not like a consistent layer. It's either this is really good or nothing much is happening on the pitch. I don't think it's necessarily a complaint about yesterday, because we were on top for the whole game. It was just nothing much was happening.
Yeah. Tom, did you have your half-time cup of tea thinking, oh, have we really done enough getting one goal when probably on the balance of play, one more would have been no less than we deserved? And then start of the second half, Stoke, they were just meh throughout the whole game, really, weren't they? But what were your thoughts at half-time?
Yeah, at half-time, I sort of thought it was 1-0, so you're happy with getting the first goal, because sometimes we fail to get the first goal and then you know what happens. But you want to put those sorts of teams to bed. And to be honest, with Stoke, I didn't really feel they were a normal Stoke side that you see. Normally they're a bit sort of tougher and a bit more robust. And they had a few tidy players in midfield, to be fair, but going forward, they had literally nothing. I thought Al Hamadi would be much better than that. And at 1-0, I sort of felt comfortable we'd go on to win it, but you're never sure what City could turn up in the second half. But as Dave said, we sort of, for 30 to 60 minutes, it felt like, well, we could just go stand in the concourse because nothing was happening. Like it went, but it's a good win. Another day, City could make hard work of that, and we don't get the 3 points there. And then that especially after the Swansea result, you've got to win those sorts of games.
Yeah. Sticking with you, Tom, you said Stoke a little bit more robust and their fans a little bit rowdy. Did I detect cheers of derision when they made it was a very late substitution, when Ben Gibson went off? It was almost like, they were cheering like, thank goodness for that. I mean, Ben Gibson, I only mention that because he's a name that I've heard of. I mean, is he a player that, why does the name stick with me? Has he done better things in the past, or
I don't know who he's played for. Middlesbrough, has he played for in a few championships? He's been in the Championship a long old time.
He's an established player, and I know they brought on that dirty so-and-so Ben Pearson as well, late on. Into the second half, and we're all looking at our watches, Dave, 60 minutes coming up, and then we're wondering who's going to be stripping off on the bench. Triple substitution. That number, that timing, your thoughts, led to a change in playing formation, didn't it?
So the first one is Wells and for Sinclair. And Sinclair is a curious one because he played very, very well yesterday in the first half. The question is, how do you get him into more opportunities to score goals? Because I think he had one snapshot yesterday, but very rarely was actually in a position where he looked like he might score. He was doing the dirty work. And then you get to the second half and either he became isolated or he just tired. And are we really saying that a professional footballer only has an engine for 60 minutes and has to come off? However, the other subs and going to a 4-2-3-1, I think Manning deserves a lot of credit because he hasn't done that until now. And actually, we were stagnating until that point. Apart from the Dickey header, which just went wide, we really hadn't created anything. And we've seen that story before. And that change gave an extra impetus to the side and in part leads on to us then scoring the goal.
Mark, what did you think of the substitutions? And again, we were commenting offline. George Earthy came on, runs around a lot, not doing much else. And you came on, and I thought you playing in that, I would call it more his conventional role. I thought he looked quite decent for the time that he was on, which was a good half hour, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought it made us look more compact by going to a back four. And we increased the pace with those three players, Wells, you and Earthy, and really got amongst the Stoke players. So from front to back, we were really busy around the ball. So when we were running back towards our goal, Hirakawa, he doesn't tackle much, but what he does do is he blocks and he slows players down. You know, he tries to get stuck in. He gave a couple of fouls away, which isn't bad as well. You know, in transition, you can get away with those. So we won the ball high up and we created chances. You know, and that's. And there's the problem again is we created those chances, but we didn't finish them off. There were some great balls behind to Wells and Hirakawa, and for some unknown reason, Jason Knight, who seemed to be flagging when we had wing backs, suddenly found some energy and looked much more effective in the last 15-20 minutes than he had done all game. And we pushed up the pitch, but again, if you're looking to improve, you really got to kill teams off. And we just didn't do it again. We got into good positions, had touches in the area, crosses came into the box. We were well on top, but we didn't score.
Do you know what's really,
the goal we'll come on to?
Really interesting is that once we made the switch, like we're in that stagnation mode where nothing is really happening. And all it takes is McCrory to get the ball in on the right, like maybe 5 minutes before the goal, and he goes on a long meandering run. Something like that just ignites something in the rest of the team.
He did, didn't he? He drove forward, and when you've got that, and he's got, I think he had Wells to his left. You've really got to have a strike on target. And there were two or three, and this happens a lot with City. They get into great positions and they waste that ball. I think he played it. Didn't he play it behind the forwards?
Yeah, it was.
So they ran ahead of the ball.
Yeah, he did.
And it's infuriating because the move, apart from that, back to front is fantastic. And you're thinking, just get this right. Sometimes you can. I mean, if you miss the forwards, you can get a midfielder running onto the ball and hitting it. Perhaps you need more players in the box, but they've got to get that execution right. That's
I mean, for all that Earthy did when he came on, he wasn't really protecting the defence or anything like that. You could have played with the extra striker, and be that Cornick alongside Naki Wells with sinks going off, or as you said, Dave, have players only got 60 minutes of energy in them. You know,
McCrory runs out of energy, doesn't he? And we know that Twine was subbed again, wouldn't he?
Well, again, I think, Dave, did you say McCrory was your man of the match?
Yeah, I'd have had him man of the match. I think on the left,
because in the first half, even though he was playing in that left wing back position, there was 2 or 3 times in front of me in the lower Lansdowne where he really pushed on and took the ball, and we had a lot of power down that side with McCrory, Mehmeti with the finesse, and obviously Sinks with the power.
They had a player that's not his natural position as a fullback, I think, and they subbed at half time. But in the first half, McCrory was literally bringing an energy to the side and he was driving the team forward. You can see that on the left, one of the weak things is that he's not going to go to the byline and put in a cross, but it doesn't matter. Yesterday was the best I've seen him play on the left side.
Yeah.
As soon as you see him switch to the right, he was even better. He started.
That's why I brought up the first half, because I thought he did well, and I've been mildly critical of him in the past. Let's move on to the goal, which is coming 73 minutes. So what's that? That's 28 midway through the second half. It was a long time coming, Tom, but when it did, it was a good one. Bird's corner, take us through the goal as you saw it.
Yeah, so Bird's corner, and then it sort of it went to Dickey, and he headed it, did it? And then they cleared it as far as Mehmeti, and you sort of, I mean, it's quite rare that we sort of score goals like that right into the roof of the net at volley. But Mehmeti clearly has got his shooting boots on this season, and he fancies it. So it's a good goal as well. I mean, set pieces isn't, I wouldn't say, our strong point. Like corner, obviously Twine's got the free kicks, but from corners we aren't that aerially dominant without McNally, I don't feel. So it's definitely a nice goal to score. And yeah, I mean, Mehmeti, I don't know. Could you see him getting many more goals? Like some people around me were saying he's going to get 15, 20, I thought.
Well, as you were saying that, I think Mehmeti is, just by virtue of the number of games that's left, I think he'll be disappointed if he didn't get another 4.
Yeah.
He's got 4. If he gets 15 from a winger, and he starts to go up as a potential saleable,
David, to show you yesterday, in terms of goals, he's actually the short corner option for that goal. And while the finish looks spectacular, it's the anticipation and the reading of the game that makes it. And when we talk about a goal scoring and striker's instinct, he's there and he realizes Dickey's going to win this, and bang, he's there. He's anticipated where that ball is going to drop. And that's why he's in a position to, we can talk about how fantastic the technique is, but if you don't show the desire to get there in the first place, no one's even going to really notice that you didn't. And that, I think, if he plays like that, 3, 4, 5, 6 more goals on the table. But yesterday's performance from him was different to the last 2 games.
Mark, where are we now? Sorry, I've got phones going here in the office. Apologies for that in the background. Mark, he's a year ago, he wouldn't have put the ball in the net like that. He wouldn't have had the confidence, or did he not have the ability either? Yeah. But, is he, and Brian Tinian said, look at how much he's developed over the past 2 years when he did this famous speech on Radio Bristol. The problem is, if we develop players and they become good, with a business that's losing £20 million a year before any player sales, if we bought Mehmeti for £1 million and then maybe even this summer, if he gets to 15 and we're not challenging, we're going to be in this division next year, aren't we? Somebody comes in and offers 5 million for him. Yeah. So that's a 4 million profit. Would we take it? And would that be allowed to be invested in the football club? Because Lansdowne has said many times, what the football club makes, the football club can have. But the football club is losing £20 million per annum before any player sales. Which, so Mehmeti does get better. And then, okay, well, we go and get another one. We go out and buy 2 for 2 million. We wait another 2 years and they'll be ready. What do you think?
I think every club's a selling club, regardless of who you are. So that's life. City will sell Mehmeti if and when he meets the value at their valuation. And at the moment, his valuation's in the ascendancy. He's a better player. He couldn't really play his way out of a paper bag when he first started. He couldn't. He didn't have the confidence. But you saw him last night, the physicality. 2 or 3 players around him. He still held on to the ball. On Sunday, he was pinned to the line by Cabango. But last night, he could play his way out of positions, create chances, and he looks our most exciting player going forward right now. And the control to bring his leg across his body from a tight position, because he's only got a second to take that chance. The control and the finish, the power into a tight angle. He's to the right of the goal, absolute cracking. And 11 goals. He should be looking at 15 to 17 goals this season. I think he'd be disappointed if he doesn't get that. And he's set himself a standard, and he's got to deliver now. Again, he's a number 10, and we got strikers who don't score goals regularly. We got number 10s like Mehmeti that do. So therein lies the problem. But like a Mo Salah, who's not necessarily a forward. That's the beauty. You've got somebody like that who can come in off the side and can score goals, and he can do it with both feet.
It just shows that everybody's got opinions on this, doesn't it? Because I said Mehmeti 5 million, and Christoph
I wouldn't say
Rakov,
that for him.
he's put on there, it's much
Go
more than
away.
5 million. And then straight after, Dom saying, Mehmeti not worth those numbers yet, Dave. So there we go. What do we know? It is all about opinions.
Objective,
I was
yeah.
sat there. I think we've done the game, because there wasn't a lot happened after that. I mean, I left in the 95th minute, and I say you could hear. Go on,
David,
sorry.
there was one thing that came on a little bit later that I think you deserves a little bit of a mention for. In the 76th minute, he had a chance of a little poke at goal.
Yes, he
that
did.
didn't go in, and maybe he could have done better. And in that moment, the way it's been going for him lately, it's very easy for his head to drop. But no, Stoke are about to break away, and who is it that nabs in and gets the interception for Wells' chance a couple of minutes later? It's you. That is the kind of energy and intensity and mentality you need from players if you want to push on from the playoffs. Just because it doesn't go your way, head up in the game all the way to the end. And considering what, he hasn't really been in the side, for me, that was a really big positive.
Right. I don't know what somebody's put in here. Sam Rosswell says, how's everyone's Dave Pottier's bingo getting on? Well, here's one for you. Extrapolation. We've gone beyond extrapolations now. Although I think Dave, we did a points predictor, and certainly when we get to the last 10 games, you can actually, I think there's some website somewhere where you can actually key in all the results. So when there's 10 games to go, you've only got 120 scores to predict. That might be worthwhile doing. I was sitting there watching the live league table and the results. And, if you look at them, I mean, the big surprise to me last night was Blackburn, without Eustace, winning, Tony Mowbray back in the saddle at West Brom, winning there by 2 goals to 0. So that lifted Blackburn up and shows what a good result that was we had against them a few weeks ago when we beat them. West Brom obviously lost. There we are up in 7th, having won. Sheffield Wednesday pouring more misery on Swansea because they went there and won 1-0. And then Borough 3-1 losers at Bramall Lane last night. And it just shows the inconsistency in those clubs running from 5th down to 9th. 2 winners and 3 winners and 2 losers. Interesting to look at the goal difference now as well, because it's not so bad. If you look at it, Blackburn on +6, West Brom +11, City there on 4, Sheffield Wednesday level on points with us on -3, but that gives us a point advantage. Borough next Friday, that's Friday the 21st, that is going to be a massive, massive game if we get something at Cardiff. I mean, what are your thoughts, Tom, about the Cardiff game in particular? Now, that's the next one up. It is must win, isn't it?
It is must win, but I don't think they'd be too frustrated if we just got a point, because our record there over recent years has been dire, to be honest. I'd love us to win there because I've seen us lose so many times there. It's just boring at this point. But regarding the Middlesbrough game as well, I think, as you said, if Cardiff we do win, then Middlesbrough's a great time to sort of get even further above Middlesbrough, and then I think we'd probably, winning those 2, we'd be in the playoff places. So It's a tricky one knowing what Cardiff will turn up, because you look, they can put in a good performance, but they can also get battered 7-0 and lose to Portsmouth. You think, well, they can't be that great, but they always turn up against us. So I honestly, I don't know which way it's going to go. But if it was like a 1-1, I wouldn't be too put out by it, to be honest.
No, 1-1, it means that you'd absolutely have to win against Borough.
Yeah.
So Sam Roswell, he's picked up on my Potier bingo. Side picks itself, flat as to deceive, extrapolate, just need a twiney for a line. Yeah. Great comments coming through there. Dave, the one thing that we did yesterday was we actually won a game that wasn't a 3 o'clock kickoff. So, we can exercise further demons at, I still want to call it Ninian Park over there. But, 7-side derby, everything to play for, both sides, because Cardiff...
Did you say Ninian Park?
No, I said I still want to call it Ninian Park. Living in the past. But both sides have got things to hanging on the game for very different reasons, haven't they, Dave?
Manning's record right now is 23, 23, 23. We're following that line. If you extrapolate that even further, it stays exactly the same numbers. And we've got some very big games coming up. You know, Sheffield United, Norwich, Burnley, Watford, West Brom, consecutive. I'm not going to say that it's must win against Cardiff, but we could do with picking up some points in the next few games, because if we do want to get to the playoffs, we're going to have to do it the hard way. You know, we've kind of had our run of games where we were like, we need to pick up points here. We need to pick up points here. Now we're going to play everybody in and around us. And you don't want to be doing that, playing catch up. You want to be doing that.
I'm looking at Cardiff. I'm just looking at the table now. They're sat there with a minus 19 goal difference on 30. Okay, they've only played 31. Well, in fact, there's only Derby that have played 32 in the bottom 5 clubs. But 31, if we beat them, they could well find themselves in the relegation slot. I mean, Mark, do you think? Do you think? You know, as I've said to the other guys, and they've sort of agreed, it's a must. It's a must win. And you know, will he make any changes? Has anybody run themselves into the ground? Could there be a start for Marcus McGuane? I had a friend text me during the game after about an hour and said Max Bird isn't having the greatest games, but that's his style. He doesn't play with a great deal of energy, Max Bird. He's a bit more subtle. But do you think Liam might be tempted to make changes on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, if you take Max Bird out, which you find against Oxford, you've got no creativity. And you know, we went with Joe Williams and Jason Knight against Oxford, really, almost to stay in the game. I think you've got to impose yourself on the game. So you need Max Bird there to thread the passes through. I don't see, you know, I thought the move to a back 4 was quite, you know, was quite good. I think he'll go. He might go with Armstrong again, with his physicality to knock them about. Hopefully we'll get a referee that protects Armstrong. But I think we've really got to win, because we haven't won since November in the league against Norwich. Yeah. So we really need, I mean, if we got any aspirations of trying to get in the playoffs, we've got to win that game. And then that gives us, you know, we can then look forward to the Middlesbrough game on the 21st. And then, funny enough, I just looked at the fixture list. We don't have another game.
We missed the Millwall game.
Yeah, we haven't got a Millwall game because of course
South London derby against Crystal Palace. That's right. That's right. So we got 2 home games in a row after 2 home games, Middlesbrough and Hull. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, we got a week off, haven't we? So as long as we don't go to Dubai and do a Kai Havertz, we should be all right.
Yeah.
I have a question for you guys in terms of the starting lineup. And Tom, I'll ask you first. Who do you think Manning sees as the main striker at the moment, the number 1?
I still think he sees Wells as, because with Wells, you know what you're going to get, really, don't you? Armstrong, he can have a good performance like yesterday, or he's had some shockers. So I think I could see him maybe sticking with Wells, to be honest, especially for Cardiff, and then bringing Sinclair on with 30 minutes to go. But I go with Wells personally, because I think, although recently it looks like he's a bit flat-footed and doesn't look like he's fully fit. And I'd say the same about Dickey as well. He's blowing like non-stop. If you look when the ball's sort of at the other end, and he's there, he's got his hand on his knee, and like he looks finished. Yeah. So I think he'd still say Wells is his main striker, but I think Armstrong's actually improving, which I didn't think I'd be saying any time, let alone now.
You're right to say that, Tom, in my view, because I think exactly the same as you. Based on last night, you know, it was almost, I thought that against Swansea, it's almost somebody's had a word in his ear and he's just perked up, you know. And I mean, you know, Tom, the other Tom who comes on, his wife calls Armstrong the refrigerator, you know. And I mean, if you are a defender,
remember William Perry, wasn't it? I think it was a tight end for he was a defensive player who sometimes played an offense for Chicago Bears in there. I think it was a 1986 Super Bowl win, going back 40 years now. He was the refrigerator. I think he passed away, didn't he?
Mark has just given me the reason why I selected him from our jolly little band. We might as well mention it now.
Oh God!
Mark's gone off
on a tangent.
Mark and I later on today. So it's Thursday that we're recording this. Later on today, I'm driving Mark up to London. I've got a nice little 2-bed serviced apartment, Mark, booked by Tower Bridge for our little sortie tomorrow morning. We've got to be at TalkSport TV studios at 8:45. Don't know who our opposition's going to be yet, And they said, you'll
Old
find
Kingston
out
Rovers.
you'll find out in the green room. So no doing what George Best used to do in the green room and having a little tipple before you go on air. We've got to wear replica shirts. Never been seen in one before, but I've got my Ashton Gate 8 one. It does fit. It's a bit tight, but I said to Mel, I said, we'll be sat behind a desk, so you won't be able to see my bulging stomach. And we will be participating in round 1, the last 64, of the TalkSport Cup. And Mark knows a lot about, pardon the expression here, knows a lot about shit, right? And, you know, I wouldn't know who won the Super Bowl last weekend. Never mind who won it 40 years ago. But
the Philadelphia Bears, wasn't it?
I don't know. So I'll just let you all know. You won't hear any more about this if it goes really, really badly. But 8:45, we got to be there.
Yeah, because David will be pushing me off Tower Bridge.
Yeah, Mark has printed about 50 sheets of A4 so we can brush up on our history of the club, but also football trivia. So we go in and do a program. If we win, we have to hang around a bit because they film another program. And then if we win, we play the winners of that one. So by lunchtime tomorrow, we could be in the last 16 of the TalkSport Cup. I don't know who we're playing. Yeah. If you don't hear any more, it means we made an ignominious exit in the first round. Knowing us, we'll probably be many, many points ahead, and then we'll let it slip in the last 5 minutes of the show. But it's being hosted by Charlie Baker, but I'm sure we'll see.
Who's Charlie Baker?
He's just one of the presenters up there. He's
You do know Charlie Baker. He's really cool.
I'm hoping to meet. I'm hoping to meet Simon Jordan.
He's
ask him about that goal against Crystal Palace, 2009. I think that was when Neil Warnock was manager, and it never was. Anyway, we digress. Back to more sensible matters. Dave, do you think he might start with a back four? Because you know he's got the players to do that, hasn't he?
He has got the players to do it, but I also think he will see how they started yesterday, and in a way he'll probably be quite happy with that. What I would want to see is that if we start at back five, that's okay. I understand why. But the moment you start making those subs like yesterday, changing it to a 4, because the wider squad suits the 4 with the players that we have at the moment. But I mean, the injury to McNally actually, if it takes away Roberts from the wing back position, it's a blessing in disguise, you know. And he was very comfortable yesterday, and I've been pretty critical of him in the left wing back position, but I thought he was fantastic yesterday, and it looked natural to him. And if he went with the same starting lineup, or he switched Wells for Armstrong, I think it would be fair enough. But the point is that once you make those subs, you want to see more of that from Manning and adapting to what the players need, and not just this rigid, we're staying in the 5.
No, well, we'll know come 2:30 on Saturday where we are, because it'd be fabulous to go. You know, if we did get something, it puts pressure on all the other teams around us that they go into their 3 o'clock games kicking off knowing that Bristol City have added another 3 points. And, you know, I think, you know, I was setting 73 points as being a target to get 6. I think you could modify that down, maybe even as low as 70, but it still leaves us with, 14 games to go, chaps? Is that how many we got left? 14. We got to win 7.
Yeah.
We have to win 7 of those games. It's purely numbers. I'm not going to use the word begins with E and ends in N. I'll use it again just for the bingo players on here. Extrapolation, but you know, do the maths, start working out where those 7 wins are going to come from, and you know, probably 3 draws, and what's that? 4 defeats. Yeah.
Is it so realistic though? 25 points from 15 games. If you have eyes on the playoffs, it's kind of what you'd expect. No, it's like that's normal numbers. You're not talking impossible.
Do you think
if you
it's
want to hit the playoffs, it's just
it's possible. Tom, we keep saying this. This is like City. It builds us up because we will beat Cardiff, and then everybody will go on Friday against Middlesbrough, and it'll be, you thought we were going to do well, and now we're going to dash your hopes again. But do you think we can, Tom? Are you feeling the love? Because we talked a few times about nobody's really feeling it at the moment. The atmosphere is flat. But you're the youngest on here. Are you feeling it?
I can see why people aren't, because I think with the whole January transfer window, and that didn't really put people's hopes up. But looking at our running as well, I can tell you 3 games we won't win, and that's Sheffield United, Burnley, and Leeds away. If we get a point there, I'd be amazed. So that's 3 games you can rule out winning already.
Yeah,
but
Burnley drew a lot of games at home, didn't they? I think we got it's a comparable home record with Burnley, because their home record isn't that great, is it? It's crazy, really. They just don't let goals in.
No, we got a tough. We actually do have quite a tough run in. I don't know if people I know probably you guys have looked at it in a bit of detail, the games you've got and home and away, but I could see I think we'd sneak into the playoffs during the season, but whether we'd sustain it with our squad and sort of our attackers don't really. I know Mehmeti's got 11 goals, but do you think Sinclair's going to get many goals, or Wells from now until so where are the goals really going to come from?
True.
Well, the Birds and the Knights.
Sorry, Mark. Dave next. Far away.
This is the issue. As soon as you sub off Mehmeti and Wells, where are the goals? And that's the biggest issue the team needs to solve going forward if you're going to make a push for it, because they can't play every minute of every game. And as soon as they're subbed off, you're looking. Thinking,
I mean, the thing is, the penultimate game of the season is away at Ellen Road. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I remember us going to Brighton when they had clinched promotion, and I think it was a penultimate game. Was Sammy Ball? Was it the year Sammy Baldock played for us, But we went to Brighton.
It's 2016-17, and Tammy Abraham was playing for us. I think
but we went to Brighton.
Josh Brownhill scored, didn't he?
That's right. We went to Brighton and spoiled their promotion.
They should have won the championship that season, but I think Newcastle won it because they just basically they although they won promotion, they just faded right out.
But if Leeds have won the championship, they can be presented with the trophy that day. And that's one of those games. It could either go 0-5 in Leeds' favour or 1-0 to us. And then we'd end up, I mean, we finished against Preston, got Luton on the last day of the season. And there was something on it.
The way I look at it, David, is we're 7th place. Blackburn have they lost their manager yet, or they're at least about to. He's gone, is he? They're now, who knows what's going to happen with them? You know, they could go on a run in spite of whatever happens, or they could fall to pieces. We're 7th. If it's not us, who is it? You know, every other team is behind us and has actually got to do more than us, bar the teams in the playoffs. This is a moment, and you have to seize it. And if ever there was a game to win and make a statement, is the next game in front of us. And we've said that a few times this season, but it really is this time.
As well. The fact of the matter is as well, Dave, that arguably, if you say, right, the key game's coming up, then if we've got West Brom at home sometime between now and the end of the season, but if all our results mirror West Brom's results apart from that, but we win that game, we jump above them. Similarly with Borough, because, you know, if we beat them next weekend, and we've beaten Cardiff. This is all predicated by beating Cardiff. But if we beat Borough and then all our results mirror theirs between now and the end of the season, we're going to finish above them. You know, is it a team like Sheffield Wednesday, although -3 goal difference? You know, is it going to be somebody that is really going to come in late on the rails? Because clubs have done it. Hull did that in 2008. You know, they went undefeated. In fact, when we beat them on March the 4th, 2008, great goal from Jamie McComb. They went undefeated after that between then and the end of the season. So I just wonder if there's another club just on the fringe.
Where do you draw your line on the league table? For you, who is the last team to be in the conversation in the playoffs? Is it Watford? Is it QPR? Is it Millwall? Where would you draw the line and say no, they're no longer in the conversation?
I'd say Norwich.
You'd say Watford are out.
I think from 11th up, so Norwich, Coventry, Middlesbrough, Sheffield Wednesday, and us. I think
Millwall,
all the outside chance of getting a playoff.
I think Norwich with Josh Sargent back in now. I think they got to be up there. West Brom, they brought in Adam Armstrong, haven't they, on loan from Southampton.
And that, Mark, is where if we draw those games against our rivals, because we can't influence what Norwich are doing, but if we draw those games against our rivals and all our results against those rivals that we're actually playing mirror one another, then it's Norwich that have the power to come through. I'm just looking at the fixtures for this weekend, you know, and Cardiff versus City, Preston, they're still there on 40 points. They're home to Burnley. Blackburn home to Plymouth. I mean, Plymouth are riding high at the moment. I mean, they beat Liverpool and then they, 5-1 winners against Millwall last night. So Blackburn, Plymouth, that's no homer based on current form. Hull versus Norwich. Hull fighting against relegation. Norwich on a roll. Luton, Sheffield United, we're not bothered with that. Big one, though, is at the Stadium of Light, Middlesbrough versus Watford. Now we want that one to be a draw, but Watford are rubbish away from home. So that puts pressure on us to, again, well, if the pressure wasn't enough, puts pressure on us to beat Cardiff.
To show you how tight it is and how silly it is, if Millwall, until yesterday, were on a decent run of form. They lost 5-1 yesterday. They're on 40 points of a game in hand. Did they win that game in hand? All of a sudden,
they're 2 points behind us if they do that.
Distance.
Yeah. And we got
again, taking on board,
find out where we put that game in hand against Millwall, wouldn't it? I mean, we don't.
Well, that could be. Well, that's going to be a nice evening game in London, probably sometime in April. And talking about Millwall, what a big game that is at the New Den on Saturday. Millwall versus West Brom. You want Millwall to win that, but if they win, they're 2 points behind us, as we said earlier. And then Sheffield Wednesday versus Coventry. Yeah, that's the other game that is impactful.
As you can see, everyone is going to play everyone, and it's just important. Yes, we've got a pretty hard run in, but if we take care of business, we have a more than
for us to get in the
shot
playoffs this weekend. West Brom will have to lose, and we win because of the goal difference. There's never going to be there's never going to be a swing, is there? Big enough to
it's exciting. It's exciting, and it's the hope, isn't it? Anybody got anything to add before we wrap up? You first, Tom. Any comments you want to make?
No, I just say I think someone said it. I don't know where it's gone. Yeah, give Cornick a run and Bell. I agree with that. I think I know with Earthy, I don't really think Earthy's what we need, but I'd like to see Bell come get a bit more game time because I feel he's quite sort of dynamic, quite direct. So I'd like that, and I think definitely against Cardiff. I mean, I highly doubt they want to be playing against pace with their defence. I don't think they're the quickest. So with Armstrong and Bell and Elijah Morrison, yeah, I mean any of those sorts of players who are on the fringes of the bench, I quite like to see them get a bit more game time. Is one thing.
Mark, final word from you. Thoughts on where we are? It's the hope and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I think we got to go into the Cardiff game and we got to set our stall out early. Go to attack them. A team who haven't won for 3 games. They're flaky at the back. Go out there and try and win the game. Don't obviously keep it tight, but make an impression. Don't do what you do against Oxford. Just go in there to go strong armed and have 2 players sent off. We're better than that, and we got players, but we got to take our chances.
Yeah. Dave, final word from you. Are you believing? Do the players believe? Do the players need to believe?
I think if football is a relationship, you describe it as toxic. After the weekend, it was quite like this is not going to happen now. We've ruined our chance. One game later, again, results have gone our way, and all of a sudden, it's like, you know what? The points number is actually pretty low. It doesn't reflect other seasons. If it's not us, why not? It's like yesterday. Just to win so comfortably was like, okay, maybe there's something there. But the question is, can we put a string of performances together that we just haven't done yet to this season? And I think that we'll just fall short. But I really hope I'm wrong.
Everybody hopes you're wrong. I'm sure the board hope that you're wrong as well.
I think I can remember that.
It would be so Bristol City. It would be so Bristol City to defy all logic and not buy anybody in the transfer market, be very bang average, and then just go and sneak it. Because I was on.
Because I reckon if we finish 5th or 6th, worst case scenario, we're going to Wembley because there will be a wave to ride. And Sunderland or Burnley will go into that game under so much pressure. And you've seen it happen so many times. And it's just just get there.
I was on Radio Bristol on Monday with Johnny Ray talking about it. And I said, well, any team can beat anybody on their day in this division, which we know. And if we're in the playoffs, if we ended up 6th, this is how it stands at the moment. And then you think, oh crumbs, it's home leg against Burnley and away leg up at Burnley, and then you got Sunderland waiting just around the corner. It'd be absolutely fantastic to play there. But I mean, goodness me, it's 17 years since the last time. But is it going to happen? I don't know.
What happened to allow yourself to dream when City make the playoffs? You get one thing, you get drama.
You do.
It's never just a oh, that's it, don't concede.
Well, I don't know what it's like in your
magic
state,
about
but
it.
yeah, a bit quiet in mine.
Yeah, Darm's put here. Whatever happens this season will be a bonus. Next season is our season, because obviously next season
It's the
is
50th
anniversary.
Yeah.
50th anniversary of Alan Dix et al. Leading us there with Clive Whitehead, that famous goal on Tuesday, April 20th. And what a night that was. And the Four Seasons, if anybody's not had the book, The Four Seasons, nothing to do with Frankie
Got it
Villa.
behind me.
Pop group with the same name, but it's available. Have a look on Amazon. The Four Seasons is an in-depth analysis of every game that we played at that level all those years ago.
Can we finish on that question? What Darm has said, like about next season, it's if we get to the end of this season, would you be positive that we'd hold on to our best players for next season, or would you be afraid that we'd actually lose 2 or 3 and have to start the cycle again? Like, is it reasonable to think let's build on this? Because I'm not convinced. I think we'll take offers. Even Bird, Knight, Mehmeti.
Well, let's wait and see. As long as we don't,
and that worries.
If let's say somebody came and offered us 4 million for Bird and we took it, let's go and replace him with a £4 million player, not 2 at 2 million, because that's. If there is going to be progress, that's it. And Whitwell Robbins said here, he said, last match you were saying we aren't good enough. Don't think anything has changed. No, we're up and down like a roller coaster. It's all opinions. It's time to go now. We'll be reviewing Cardiff at 5 o'clock on Saturday evening. So we're looking forward to doing that. Mark, I'll see you later. Tom, thanks for coming on. And Dave, no doubt we'll speak before the Cardiff game, where you'll be sending me more WhatsApp messages as you learn the delights of Restream. Apologies for not acknowledging everything. But everybody who's watched us or listened to us this morning, thanks a lot for that, for your support, continuing to do that. And if you're listening to it on Spotify or whatever, hope you enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed doing it. All the best, everybody.